Good evening. This is the 8th of hopefully 12 live streamings over Yuletide. Thank you for joining me. Tonight is a storytelling of sorts. Another extract from another massive piece of poetry. Gylfaginning, the beguiling of Gylfi, is one of our primary sources for Old Norse mythology, recorded by the historian Snorri Sturlusson in Iceland about 1,000 years ago. He loved the old-time poetry, and he was afraid that its meanings would be lost. So he wrote down the many myths that appeared in the poetry that he knew, so that people coming after would know what the poems meant, would know the stories they referred to. It's a little like somebody writing down all the myths that Shakespeare refers to in his work, so that future readers of Shakespeare might know what those plays meant. Of course, Snorri was a Christian, and these were pagan myths. So he had to write carefully. He may even have changed some bits to make them more palatable for his Christian audience. And he's writing a couple of hundred years after conversion. And so his knowledge may not have been perfect. But he wrote this long chunk of clunky prose, to tell the stories. And rereading them, it occurred to me that it might be fun for me as an exercise to recast it into the alliterative verse form that the poems he was quoting was written in. It's a verse form that I'm very fond of. I've had some practice at, and is great to read aloud, and I hope great to listen to. It depends on alliteration, and you'll hear it as I read. 2 or 3 alliterated stresses in each 4-stressed line. I've done more than that. I've translated most of the names into modern English. So characters like Thor, whose name means thunder, is referred to as thunder. Loki, the name is less clear what it means. I've taken one suggestion for it and named him Loopy. And you'll see with the other characters that they're given in this modern English. Much of the Gylfaginning is Gylfi asking of Odin, disguised as high, just as high and third. How was the world made? What is the shape of the world? Who are the gods? Who are the goddesses? And at this point, he's been insisting on hearing a tale of thunder. A tale of thunder not shown at his best, perhaps even humiliated. And high, just as high and third, start to tell him that story. I would say perhaps it's a story of not overly focusing on our failures, and by that undercutting our achievements. So Thunder and Loki are heading out to the world of the giants, the Outgarth, for an adventure. The trouble began when travelling Thunder, Thor, drove his car drawn by goats, and going with him the god named Loopy, Loki, and at a peasant's steading stopped for the night. Thunder made supper. He slaughtered his goats, skinned them, sliced them, simmered in a pot, settled down to eat them, dealing some out to their host, his wife, and their hungry children. The son was Serving Elf, the Elfie, and his sister, Dauntless, Roskva. Throw the bones, Thunder told them as they ate, of my goats on their goat skin spread. Serving Elf's bone was broken for the marrow. They settled to sleep, and sometime before morning, Thunder got up, gathered the bones, lifted lightning strike, Mjolnir, aloft in a blessing, brought the goats back, bounding into life. Only one of them went limping, lame in the hind leg. The ham bone, said Thunder, has been broken for the marrow. Gathering his brows, glower in his eyes, to shorten the tale, the terror of the farmer is easy to imagine. The eyes of Thunder buried in his brow, barely seen, enough still visible to induce a collapse. On the shaft of his hammer, his hands clenched tight, white enough to shine. The wail of the farmer, crying for grace, for forgiveness, and all, everything they owned offered to atone. And seeing their fear, his fury abated. He calmed down, considered, and agreed that in settlement, Serving Elf and Dauntless become his bond servants, been so ever since. The goats left behind, they began their journey east to the giant land, out toward the sea, crossing the deep water. Dauntless and Thunder, Serving Elf and Loopy landing on the shore. Faced with a forest, not far from the coast, they walked all day in the dark until evening. Serving Elf was quick, carried Thunder's bag, but little could be found for lodgings that night. A building in the dark, a doorway at the end, as wide as the wall, but welcome as shelter. They settled to sleep. But sometime in the night, shudders of an earthquake shook the house. Roaring thunder roused his companions. Searching the building, a side room found, about halfway, branching to the right. Thunder in the doorway, drawn lightning strike. His friends behind him, afraid for their lives. Thunder, steady, striker in his hands, to defend from whatever was disturbing the ground, rumbling and groaning and grinding the earth. When dawn arrived, out went Thunder and saw someone asleep in the forest. The noise in the night, Thunder knew what it was. This was no midget, mightily snoring. He buckled his girdle, his belt of might, felt his god strength gathering then. The sleeper stirred, stood up quickly, and the courage to strike quailed in Thunder's heart. He asked, though, a name. "Oh, I'm only Boaster, but I needn't ask yours. I know you are Thunder, Thunder of the gods, girdled and hammered. Though I wonder still, are you stealing my glove?" Then Boaster turned and took up his glove, and Thunder knew it for their nighttime shelter, and the room at the side was really the thumb. "Keep me company, your companions and yourself." Boaster undid his bag, and they broke their fast. "Let us pool our food. I'll put it in my sack and carry it for all." "All right," said Thunder, bag on his back, Boaster striding away. At the end of the day, arriving at the camp that Boaster had made beneath an oak tree, "You take the knapsack, treat yourself to dinner. I've already eaten and am eager to sleep." Thunder took the knapsack, a knot to undo, but unlikely as it sounds, loosen it he couldn't. Pushing at strap ends, pulling at strings, to have it as tight as it had been before. With all his efforts amounting to nothing, Thunder got grumpy, grasped his hammer, stepped toward Boaster, struck him then a two-handed blow on the brow of the sleeper. Boaster stirred, staring around. "A fallen branch? Some foliage, perhaps. I think some leaves landed on my head. Have you all eaten? Enjoy your rest." "We're about to sleep," answered Thunder, but took themselves to a tree beyond, a neighbour oak, none of them able to rest in safety, sleep without fear. In the brow of the night, with Boaster snoring, so the forest resounded. A second time Thunder swung his hammer hard and fast, striking down at the centre of the crown. Feeling the force as the face of the hammer sank into the head, the sleeper woke. "Is something askew? Did an acorn fall to bounce on my bonce? Did it bother you too?" Retreating quickly, "I was restless," said Thunder. "It is only midnight, hours to sleep." But resolved in himself, ready for a third blow to keep those eyes from opening again. A bit before dawn, as Boaster snored, Thunder roused, with a running jump, swung that hammer, sweet as a nut, on the temple bone turned to the sky, sinking into skin, into skull and brain, as far as the handle the hammer went. "Was that a bird?" Boaster inquired, stroking his cheek. "Chucking some rubbish?" "Thunder, you've risen, ready for the day. Keep on this road for the castle outyard. You were chatting in the night how I'm not on the little side, but bigger men by far in the borough dwell. My advice, don't aggravate by acting big. Outyard Loopy's men, Loki, loathe showing off, especially from babies. Bonny as you are, best nip back a better course for you. But if you're in earnest, eastwards is there, north is my road where the mountains stand." His bag on his back, Boaster strode away, no wish from the others for a warm reunion. Thunder's companions continued on their road. At noon they came to a castle, standing, bending their necks so the backs of the heads were at rest on their spines, to spy out the top. The gate was closed and couldn't be opened, though the bars had gaps big enough to walk through. They saw a large hall, a long way to hike, but the door was open and in they went. A gathering of people, perched on 2 benches, most of them a fair size. Moving to the king, they addressed him politely, out-yard Loopy, who turned to them slowly, teeth bare and smiling. News won't dash when the distance is long, but am I mistaken? This mini one here, is it driving thunder? Drag my eyes, but I thought you'd be larger than you look to me. What are your party tricks? The people can't stay without sharing a feat, showing a skill, something they're good at, a gift or an art, a thing they can boast of better than most. Last of the 4, Loopy piped up. I know a feat I've no fear of showing. Few can eat as ferociously as I. A worthy challenge, cheered out-yard Loopy, and called from the benches a competitor named Loki to try against Loopy. A trencher was brought, and food was fetched full and meaty. At one end was Loopy, and Loki at the other. And they ate, and they ate, and they ate to the middle, and Loopy had munched all the meat from the bone, but Loki had munched all the meat and the bone and the trencher as well. A triumph against Loopy. Then out-yard Loopy asked the young man, I'm ready to run. A race of some kind? That is a good feat, and good at running you will need to be. Now we shall see. Then out-yard Loopy laid a course over level ground, as a little fellow known as Hugi was named as the rival to Serving Elf. On your marks, set, go! The first race began, and before he could finish, Serving Elf was met by the man coming back. You'll have to be faster if you hope to win, though you're swifter, Serving Elf, than some of our visitors. A second race began, and before he could finish, Hugi reached the end and arrows flight ahead. Serving Elf is fast, but I fear not enough. A third race was run, and a third race lost. Then out-yard Loopy looked at Thunder. Of all your accomplishments, are there any you're willing to show us today? Share in this company? We've heard the tales that treat of your exploits. Drinking, said Thunder. I'll drop anyone. A fine contest. Call my butler. Fetch out the forfeit horn, full to the brim, that all of us here are used to drink from. Now with this horn we hold it well drunk if it is emptied in only a draught. Some take 2, but sorry are they, the drinker who cannot drain it in 3. It didn't seem so large, though longer than most, and Thunder is mighty, his thirst more so. Many and great the gulps he took, intending to leave it an empty vessel, until he paused to replenish his breath and looked at the level, lower than before by next to nothing. Not a bad draught, not overly excessive, said Outyard Loopy. But I wouldn't believe a barefaced liar who had told me that thunder, thirst of the gods, would not in a draught have drunk more than that. I'm certain you'll finish it in this second draught. Deep in his thought, Thunder put the horn to his mouth, meaning to take more than before, bigger by far, drinking with gusto, till, gasping for breath and finding the tip of this infuriating horn not lifted as easily as he'd like it to be, looking in, lowered even less than before, drained only to spare any danger of spilling. Then Outyard Loopy asked, "Thunder, what is the matter? The amount you've left, is that more than you can manage? Maybe you think you can drink deeper still than you've done already. But among us here, it's hard to regard you as great a person as the gods all say. Unless you can answer in another contest with a better account than you offer here." Thunder was angered. Another time thrust the horn to his mouth, hard time drinking, looked once more, lower by a fraction, handed back the horn, and would have no more. "Truly, Thunder, we thought you greater. Try another contest, a trial you can cope with. Were I at home, it wouldn't be nothing the drinking I've done. Dare me another." "It may seem insignificant, but something we do. I would not mention it, but much less impressive do you seem to us now. Are you strong enough, Thunder, to lift my cat, as our kids like to do?" And there was a cat, kind of grey, lying on the floor, longer than most, and Thunder took hold with his hand underneath the middle of its belly and began to lift. But arching its back every bit as high as Thunder could stretch, it stayed on the ground, and only one paw was ever raised. So Thunder failed this feat as well. Just as I thought. Thunder is short and small in comparison, while the cat is rather big. Small, as you say, that someone come out and face me in a fight. Ferocious, Thunder. Then Outyard Loopy looked across the benches. There's none here who'd not think it demeaning to fight you. But maybe my nurse, the old woman, Ellie, is an equal match. In there came an old crone. She has toppled tons of people, many who looked as mighty as Thunder. This rickety woman will wrestle with him. Not much to say. This match. What happened is the fiercer he strained, the firmer she stood. Then she got tricky, tripping his feet. And before too long, he fell on one knee. Outyard Loopy stood. "Stop!" he commanded. No point inviting anyone else to fight. It's late. Here's somewhere to sleep in comfort with all hospitality. Have a good rest. Waking at dawn and dressing, Thunder, his companions 3, thought to depart. But out-yard Loopy laid out a table full of good cheer, food and drink. Walking them out-yard Loopy, out of the castle, questioned Thunder. How do you judge your journey has gone? Met you before any mightier than I? Thunder replied, thoroughly shamed. I cannot claim to have kept face, but your opinion of me as a person of such little account irks me more. Then I shall tell you the truth of the matter. Since from my castle you've come outside, that have I life, and have I means, not ever again will you enter my house. Nor had I known how near to disaster your might would bring us, then bringing you inside, I swear by my troth, trust me, I wouldn't have. But I have used seeming to deceive you all. That first time, it was I in the forest who met you. I gave you my knapsack, the knot to undo, but I had it tied with a trick wire, so the cord to unfasten couldn't be found. And then, with your hammer, you hit me 3 times. The first was the lightest, but firm enough to kill me cold, if cleanly it hit. But I found a shield to shelter behind, a table mountain tall by my house, with 3 valleys in it. I threw that mountain in front of your blows, 4 square indents deep in its side. But you didn't notice. So it was with the contests your companions and you tried in my castle. Terrifically fast was Loopy at eating, but Logi means flame. Wildfire burning meat, bones and trencher too. And serving elf will be second to few in a running race. But rarely, if ever, can Hugi be beaten. For Hugi is thought, my thought, with speed serving elf cannot equal. And you, with your drinking, useless it seemed. I swear by my faith there fell a miracle I'd never believe, for the nether end of the horn was dropped into deepest ocean. And when you return, the tides, you will know, have been made in the sea by the scale of your drinking. And no less impressive, you lifted the cat. And truly, I tell you, terrified us all when you raised a paw, appearing a cat. It was really the worm, the world girdler, the serpent set to encircle the world. hardly long enough for head and tail to touch the ground when you took it skyward. And then at the end, Ellie, the crone, the frail old lady, you fell to your knee. But this too a miracle, that she managed no further to topple you. The truth being that it was old age, the one you wrestled, and has never been, never will be, if they live to be old, anyone born, not brought down by that bent grandam. And the truth, I must tell you now, is that we must part. And prefer it I will that you come not again. Knowing you so, I'll trick you or trap you, try as you might. And hearing this, his hammer raised, thunder meant with mighty blows, but outjarred Loopy was out of sight. And seeing this, swung around to smash the castle, seeing only wide and open, empty landscape. And so he led the way, home to Forcefield. But the fact is this, that deep in his mind a meeting he planned with the Midyard serpent to settle his thought. So it turned out. And a truer account of Thunder's expedition you won't expect to hear. Thunder in Outgard, from Gylfaginning in verse. Hope you enjoyed. Keep well.